Adam Stark here. I wanted to break down all of my books that I have ever written and ever published up to this point, which is 2021, of course. Some of them were even updated and stuff like that. Every book of mine is available in every single format possible and is 100% free as well, including audiobook via YouTube anyway. So every format possible. Just going to go through them in order of release, explain everything. There's not going to be any spoilers in this. I don't want to spoil anything because honestly the things that would be spoiled in these are all essentially the best parts of each of these stories. So I'm not going to be doing any of that, but you should just read it anyway. So, alright, I'm going to go in order here. So, the first book I ever did, all the way back in July 2016. This one took me almost exactly a year to write, maybe a little bit more. And this was Going Live in 3, 2, What? It's called. So, this was my take on an action, adventure, suspenseful thriller. So, this is my first book, of course. So, it took me a long time to do it. Long time to write this out, get everything choreographed and done perfectly the way I wanted it to. Now, I have the advantage of I have seen plenty of movies in my life. Good, bad, terrible, plenty of movies. I've read plenty of books, plenty of stories and plays and stuff, and I've seen so many things. So I said, finally, okay, I'm going to start doing my own. And by doing that, I have the advantage of I know what I'm going to like, I know what stuff to avoid doing, and I know that when I write something, it is not going to sound familiar to some other story. I wanted to make sure that nothing I ended up writing was going to sound like, or remind you of another story. Like, you know, this gunfight isn't going to remind you of, oh, that's the gunfight that reminds me of this movie from the 80s or something. Like, I was working really hard to specifically craft these pages so that wouldn't happen. Now, anyways, to the book itself. First off, the accomplishments. It's got over 600 downloads on the main website, smashwords.com, so that's awesome. Okay, it's got positive reviews online, written reviews, like people have actually written reviews about it, which is nice. It at Barnes & Noble, which is .com, which is one of the biggest online book websites ever, obviously, if you didn't know that. They actually had it download ranked recently in the 200,000s. That's amazing, because there is over 10 million books on that website. So to get any book of mine within 300,000, that's insane. That is remarkable. So that's definitely something to be proud of. Also, on Twitter, there's another wonderful website that I use for all my free books as well, which is called freeebooks.net. A big site. I love this site so much. It's been great for me, and it's a really nice community there. And the actual official Twitter handle for freeebooks.net actually posted a tweet and tagged me in the tweet and everything and said, this is another page-turner classic by Adam Stark called Going Live in 3, 2, What? This is a must-read. And I'm like, dang. So I really appreciate that. That was amazing. So just throwing it out there. Now, as for the actual story itself, so I wanted to do modern-day action type of stuff. So that's what I did with this book and this story. So I started out, so it's, again, no spoilers in any of these. I'm not going to give away nothing. But so in book number 1, you got Jack Anchorage. Okay, so he is a loner. He lives all by himself in the middle of the woods, basically. He doesn't have any neighbors or nothing, and he's just satisfied living there. Okay, he's got kind of a reckless podcast going, a radio show. It's independently done or whatever. But he's destroying all these people on the TV, on the news, like with just breaking down how fraudulent they are, how terrible they are, just how god-awful they are at just lying, reporting, and it's all political, none of it's factual, and so he's just exposing all of the prostitutes in the media and stuff, just destroying them, right? And then he gets so far into it that he ends up going a little too far. And this is all in the first like 2 pages. This isn't revealing anything. So he finds out, okay, he's so good with that computer stuff that he's actually hacked in to the CIA database of some sort and found that there is some traitors in the CIA in the part of it that plan on using this brand new weapon, this EMP nuke going on, right? So he says, that's coming on my show tomorrow night. I'm going to release the files on that or whatever. So he gets a knock on his door. Mind you, he has no neighbors. Nobody comes to his door. He's a loner, like, for life. So why does he have somebody at his door? That's, like, unheard of. So the guy opens the door, and Jack's telling him, nope, you're not welcome here. I don't want you, nothing. And the guy shows up his weapons. He's armed, and so Jack usually gives him a blank face, and the guy kind of invites himself in. He says, I have no time to explain this to you. I said, on your show, you're talking about releasing files to a hidden EMP nuke, and I said, they have a hit squad that is coming to kill you right now. I said, so we have no time. Take this gun, come with me. We need to set up base here. So basically, this character, we don't know who he is. Okay, he is setting up Jack's house because he know that the hit squad is coming in to just kill him right away. So he's doing, I'm not getting into the details of it because you actually have to read it or listen to the audiobook of it to actually hear and understand how good, how really original this action is. Even though there's guns and fighting stuff you've seen and heard millions of times before, with the stuff that happens here, not giving any away, is remarkable. I took a lot of time to make it sound really good, to give you a lot of really cool details and stuff, and everything, just figurative language galore, onomatopoeias and stuff like that, and really interesting motifs. Again, I won't spoil, but so needless to say, so then after that happens, this is all in the beginning, so I'm not giving away too much. Obviously, Jack does survive this, and then he gets introduced properly to Dwight. Dwight Simmons is somebody that is actually supposed to be dead. We find out he was in the CIA. He thought that his section of the CIA was actually becoming traitorous themselves. So he faked his own death so that he could get the death with benefits and stuff that comes with that line of work. So he did all of that so that he could set up a life for his family that he still has alive, right? But once he overheard that, okay, now Jack has discovered this weapon, great. He goes, now this kid's going to die. So he comes and saves the kid. And he finds out, okay, Jack, I got to catch you up to speed, okay? So now he's explaining to him the secrets that he knows. And he says, now it's you and me against them. We're on a mission because, well, you and me need to go stop the two bases that exist that have this weapon that can send this whole country back to the Stone Ages, basically, like economically and technologically and all that stuff. Okay, well, you and me are going to go do that right now. On everywhere else you look, you and me are going to be marked by the FBI. They're going to mark us for 10 different crimes we didn't even commit, and they're going to say that we're like the most wanted right now, and none of it's even true. But it's because they need to stop us from stopping them. Because basically there is just a weapon that Dwight invented, and they took his weapon and perfected it, and it's just a scary situation. So this whole book is an adventure, but it's also got great dialogue. These characters are getting to know each other on these car rides. They're doing all sorts of secret, covert stuff. There's espionage, there's sneaking around, there's weapons, there's fighting, there's killing, there's shooting, there's explosives, there's a car chase that takes place with guns out at nighttime with no electricity. The whole city electricity is wiped out, and it's at nighttime during a car chase. Like just cool stuff that I've never seen, never will see probably, and just really, really well done. And I can't spoil anything because the details really kill this book. It's really in a good way. I mean, they really let you know, like, whoa. Because another thing I like about in all those types of stories is the planning stages, the setup, okay, this is our plan, this is what we need to do. That, not giving any of it away, is really well done in this story. You're going to read it, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, okay, I never even would have thought of that, but that's what this is. This whole story is okay, obviously we need to stop them. Obviously we need to get to them and stop this weapon from going off. How do you do that? Well, the how do you do that part is all in the planning that I can't discuss because that's giving away too much. So And the twists that are in this are great. I think that everybody will like them. I'm not going to give away any hints or anything like that, because that's, spoilery type of stuff. But, another thing just to keep in mind with me, what I always say, this is what I always say anyway, is it's okay to have a twist in a story, even a crazy twist in any type of story, in any type of media format. But what I prefer doing is having a twist that's within the realm of possibility. I hate it when there's a stupid twist that ruins the story, such as, oh, the character was sleeping the whole time and now they woke up, so the whole story you just read was them dreaming. I hate stuff like that. I hate the twist was one of the characters wasn't real, they were a ghost. I hate twists like that. I hate that crap. That stuff has been overly done. It's been done well a few times in the past, sure, but nowadays that's done. I don't, that's, to me, it's a cop-out. It means you're not being original. It means you're doing stuff that's already been done several times over. So what I have done is really well thought out planning and all these twists and stuff, which I can't give away for spoiler reasons. So that's book number 1. You got to check it out. It's a good ride. It's a good journey. It's suspenseful. It's got action galore. Very original action, though. Stuff that hasn't been seen before anyway. So, okay, moving on to book number 2. This came out a year and a half a month later, excuse me. It was The Right, as in WRITE, Path to Sword Out the Truth. It's not sort out, it's sword out the truth. So this came out in middle to late July 2017. So, oh, and I should mention too, every one of my book covers has me in it. I have photoshopped myself in the cover of each of my books. And it just, why not? Everybody's got their thing, right? Everybody's got their own cameos. Anyways, I'm getting way off topic. So in this book, what I decided is I wanted to do the exact opposite of what I did with the first book. It's an action-adventure story, but instead, now we're in medieval times, because I love the medieval times. I love stuff like that. I love the idea of combat with weapons like shields, battle axes, and spears, and beard axes and stuff. Maces. I love the idea of that. Bow and arrow fights and crossbow fights. Like, I love this idea, this world I'll never get to live in, never get to see. And I love, I've seen plenty of good movies that do that. I've seen plenty of terrible ones too, but my point is, so I'm doing another action story, but it's the exact opposite type of action. There is no guns in this. There's no explosives in this one, because it's all sword fighting and stuff. It's dangerous elements that involve, ancient history, long time ago type of stuff. And that's the thing, when you're comparing the two types of action, a gunfight is just you keep pulling the trigger till someone falls down dead. What's different is a medieval fight is a lot more personal. You're right up close to that combatant that you're going against. It's a lot different. It's a completely different story. So that's what I'd like to do different with this book. So in The Right Path to Sort Out the Truth, what I did, I have a very good story. I can't give away any of the spoilery stuff, which is always the best stuff, which sucks. In this video, I won't do that. But the ending is phenomenal. The ending is going to make you reread the book to find out all the other interesting things going on, which I won't reveal or give any hint to. I'm just going to be the most vague human being in the universe right now of all living organisms when I say that. But the action here is amazing. You can see a 360-degree choreography of every single sword fight, spear fight, axe fight, everything. And it's just phenomenally done. Like, I really took the time to craft the action in this story too, because it's a completely different type of action. Now, the story itself is this. So it's in fictitiously, of course, but I'm saying in the medieval times, a long time ago, there was one really great king, one really great ruler of a land. Okay, and it was a tiny land overlooking a bunch of smaller hamlets. Okay, just a wonderful land. Okay, and like, I'm trying to like reiterate in the first paragraph, like, oh, this did exist. This did happen. There was something like this, and it wasn't, crappy and terrible and run by god-awful creatures like the world is right now. Okay, but so, and in recent times too. But I'm saying, so like, now, that's what this is, right? Now, the king also has a son, named Trent. You find out he's the main character, okay? So Trent is special because he's a good fighter. He's not the best. He ain't the best by far, but he's a good fighter, and he's also a writer. So in that time period, who's a writer? Like what are they? There isn't books yet. It's all parchment paper, and treaties and stuff. Like this is before literature was a thing. So all what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, Trent is second in command under his father, of course, who is the king, and so he's writing battle strategies. He's writing treaties. He's a famous writer. That's all we learn about him. And then, so in this story, and this all happened at the very beginning, so I'm not spoiling anything. But okay, so his dad is just the best fighter ever. Like without giving away the awesome action that you'd read about in the first chapter, the dad has just these impeccable skills with fighting that you'll be blown away at how good he is, and not in like an annoying, unrealistic type of, no, I did a good job of making it very clear that he's just the very experienced type of fighter that you don't want to run into type of fighter. And anyways, so without revealing anything, okay, there is a new weapon that's invented, okay, briefly, during a staff meeting, okay, that is going to allow them to basically shoot projectiles or whatever. And Trent invented it. That's his son, main character, and he's got the instructions or whatever. He's like, yep. He's like, this is going to change the battlefield tactics for eternities. Okay, meeting ends. Everybody goes to their different rooms. One of the squires is holding the new weapon, and I'm extremely vague about the weapon in the actual book too, because here's why. So somebody betrays the king. Okay, everybody knows you can't beat this king. He's too good. He cannot be defeated in battle. That will never happen. So what happens in actuality is the king gets betrayed by this other guy under the staff named Marcus. Okay, so Marcus steals the weapon, kills the king with it. Okay, then when everybody comes up to investigate the king, who gets up there first? Trent. Okay, Trent is there, and he's saying, "You murdered my father, Marcus." Like, he's obviously reacting like anyone else would. What does Marcus do? He chucks that new weapon right in Trent's hands. Trent catches it. All of the king's guards enter the room. And what does Marcus do? He points the finger and says, "You killed him. You killed our king." And Trent, main character, is holding the weapon that killed his father. He didn't do it, but he's holding it. And then Marcus says, "You're the only one that knows how to use this contraption. You invented it." It works. He convinces those guards that he did it. So Trent runs away, escapes, and he's hunted for death. Now he's marked for death. He's going to be hunted now. So just unfortunate, really sucky situation that he ends up in, right? Marcus takes over. He's the new king, okay? And this, I don't think I'm spoiling too much. I hope not, but you probably didn't see this coming. Not, but now Marcus is a terrible king, a terrible leader. He's a terrible person. He's got no morals. He's doing everything for himself. He's using his own guards as like security against the people because he doesn't even trust his own people. He's not even leading them. He's like stealing from them. He's like taking advantage of them and just being a god-awful person. But he's king, and he's keeping the guards around him, richer than before. So they're doing it for him. Their morals are decaying, and they're trying to hunt down Trent, okay? So Trent is alone now. Trent is vowing for revenge, okay? And so Trent meets some friends along the way. He gets hunted plenty of times along the way. I can't give up any other real information about this because I don't want to give anything away. This is a very well-written thing because what I don't want people to think about this book is that it's just a bunch of sword fighting and blah, blah, blah. That's not this at all. No. If this was a movie, that's probably how I would sell it in like a trailer for it, sure. But the actual best parts of this is in my personal opinion as the author of it, is not the action. It's the really, really cool writing that I put. I can't give anything away. That's the hard part about doing this. But just trust me, by the time this is over, you will want to read it or listen to the audiobook of it again. And you're gonna notice some things that are gonna just go they're going to blow your mind away, because you're going to be like, dang, I never even thought about that, and I listened to it the first time, and I wasn't even reading it fast, and that went right over my head when I read it. And you're going to do it in this one, and you're going to be like, whoa, dang. So the action in this is A1 amazing. You'll be able to picture in your head every single slashing of every weapon. And there's tons of medieval weapons used in this book. I did not be repetitive at all. I did not just do everybody has a sword or a dagger or something. No. There's tons of different things, right? Characters are all great. And the comedy in this is underrated. Like, it's not like it's funny to me, because you have to write thinking in a time period before now where there's jokes like today, whatever. But so it's, in my opinion, the comedy is underrated in it. But no, the twists and turns, the planning, the plotting again is just remarkable. One thing I'll say before I continue, one thing that I like to say is my MacGuffin for every book that I do. Every character has one trait that is a trait that I personally have, which is thinking on your feet, thinking on the fly. Because what do I do as Adam Stark? I am a freestyler. I'm a freestyle rapper. I like to make up lyrics on the spot, and I just make up punchlines as I'm going and just start battling and stuff. I have, probably over 7 hours, maybe even over 10 hours of footage of me freestyling off the top of my head on my YouTube channel. And I'm only bringing that up to say, okay, so that's what I do, is I think off the top of my head. And that's observational kind of thinking, turning something into punchlines with rhyming in that very moment, that you prove that you did it there and it wasn't, something pre-written or whatever. You're showing, hey, I can do this. I can show and prove. See, every character in my book, at least one of them, has that ability to think on the fly. And so you'll see how Trent does it in this book without giving it away. You'll see how Dwight did it in my first book, and etc. It's just a key theme in my main characters, is having that ability to think of something on the spot right then and there. That really helps in their situations. So that's just kind of a little Easter egg about my stories. All right. So moving on here. Now going to the World's Worst Murder Detective. This came out in November 2017. I think it was mid-November, but November 2017. So this all started in a weird way. This book has a very interesting backstory. So this is my take on a comedy book. Now, I've always wanted to make a comedy book, but comedy's kind of a drag, because when you think about it, everybody's comedy is different. Everybody's preference is different. Everybody laughs at something different. You're never going to find something that everybody who likes comedy is going to laugh at, because some people like shock humor. Some people like humor you can't even describe. Some people like visual humor. Some people like political humor and whatever. It's impossible to find something everybody will like. And I agree. So what I tried to do is I said, you know what? I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to do my style, okay? Which is what I'm going to call sophisticated humor, sophisticated comedy, sophisticated jokes, whatever. Where the jokes in this are written kind of like I write my punchlines and my rap songs, where, if one word is missing, the whole joke wouldn't work. It wouldn't make any sense. You have to have everything fit perfectly or whatever. And then I mix in some things here and there that are funny, that maybe someone would think is funny and someone else would think that's not funny, Adam. Whatever, but I do my best, right? So here's the backstory to this. This is interesting. I've never talked about this before until now. So it's about, I had the absurd name, Powen Yudi Popper. Just the most absurd name that I've ever made up, right? And I've made up plenty. But so what I did was I had a video way back in the day, in 2015, where I said, I'm running for president, Adam Stark running for president. And I made a bunch of goofy jokes in that video. I talked like I was super serious, but I wasn't. And so in that video, and I made a follow-up one and whatever. And my point is, I made a bunch of goofy jokes, and I even made it clear in the video that I'm not old enough to run for president, so you can't actually vote for me or whatever. I was just all goofy, and then when I was done, I was like, I had some good stuff there that kind of went to waste, But so then what I did, I invented a new show when I invented a new YouTube channel called Stark Command Center, spelled with a K instead of a C. And so it's Stark Command Center. And what I did was I made up like a whole universe, and I was like a reporter in this fake universe or whatever, and I did all these things, and I invented things like my joke was I had like 12 jobs or something, and one of them was like a doctor, and I said people do not have there's not people that have a problem falling asleep. It's not that they have trouble staying asleep. They have an awakeness addiction. They're addicted to being awake. So I have all these weird jokes I was going on about, and this all this stuff. So I had this show going on with all these jokes, okay? And I was like, again, I kind of wasted these jokes just doing this impromptu kind of a program, just this show I did. And I was like, I feel like I wasted them. So then, this is when it topped it all off. It was right before Christmas 2016, right before it. And I thought of a show idea. I thought, I'm going to tell everybody like weeks in advance. I have a show. It's going to be released on Christmas. Congratulations. It was called 5 p.m. WCF, short for 5 Prestigious Men with Catastrophic Failures. And it was a ranking list of 5 men I made up. I had to do different voices for all 5 of them, and I had to do a voice for the host using a fake accent and everything. So I had to be 6 characters in this. This was all pre-recorded, but I had to name, there was like a doctor who had like an epic failure. There was a new supervisor at like a very high up prestigious company or something, or a firm, and he did all this stupid things to fail. And then the catalyst for this was my last character, who I named Powen Udipopper, and he was just the biggest fool. He was a murder detective that just screwed up terribly. And to think I only had, I want to say like 10 minutes or something of material at that time. But when I was done with that show and I listened to it again, I was like, you know what? I don't want to waste this character. I was like, yeah, the other characters, they're funny, but they won't last. But I said, this character's different. I said, I need to do something with this character, and I need to do it now, because this is too good to waste. So I decided I'm going to make a whole book out of Pow and Udipopper. So I thought of more ideas to add to his story about being the worst murder detective. And then I also, throughout the book, World's Worst Murder Detective, I decided to add a whole bunch of those other jokes in the other aforementioned videos I mentioned earlier, to add to this story too, because why not? It's some of my funniest jokes, and they're not being used for anything, so why not put them to use in this book and center it around Pow and Udipopper's character, the world's worst murder detective. So that's what I decided to do, as my animals interrupt me now. Anyways, so in this book, this is what I did. So this is officially going to finally talk about the actual book now and not just the backstory, but it is an interesting backstory nonetheless. So Pow and Udipopper, this was my idea of humor. I wanted to make a hybrid character, somebody who is equally a genius, like a high level IQ, insanely over the top, way too smart for other human beings around him, genius, just a remarkable, intelligent, just too smart. And I took a lot of time to study big words and stuff to create the dialogue I crafted in this story. And he uses big words for anything, for the dumbest, even the most insignificant conversations that aren't even important, and he's going out of the way to use the biggest stretch of words to describe the situations going on that are like, really, like, you really needed to do the big words for that situation, really? But that's what he does. And that took a long time to study and get those big words down, just to get them right, so they fit. And so, but here's that. So he's half genius and half the dumbest person ever. The dumbest, as an intelligence, dumbest character of all time. So how do I do that, right? And this has been done many times before, because in many different stories, you've had characters that are street smart, but not book smart at all. And then you've had the not street smart characters that are extremely book smart. They take like a smart nerd person and you put them in prison, for example. They don't know how to behave in prison, and they screw up their whole life or whatever, and they get destroyed, and they have to sleep on the bottom bunk and whatever, all that stuff. Like, that's happened many times. But So what I wanted to do to separate this character and this story from others is I had to take and carefully make this up. So the only science fiction element I did in this story of Powan's is I invented a disease, and I made it clear right at the beginning so I don't have to, whatever. Which is, okay, his ears are cursed. He has terrible hearing, but not just terrible, what did you say? Can you clarify what you said kind of hearing? But his hearing is actually so bad that he doesn't just mishear things, he acts on the information he misheard, no matter how way off and how awfully the opposite end of the spectrum in the English language that thought he heard, he acts on that. So it can be the way opposite thing. So that's where being a good writer and being a very masterful rhymer like myself, that's why this was able to work out really well. And this just landed perfectly in my dialogue and everything. So now everybody likes a murder mystery, a murder, story. You're trying to solve a murder. So that's how this starts out. He graduates from Harvard with honors at the top of his class, so he's intelligent, right? But then he decides of all the things he could do, he wants to solve murders. So then he's a detective and he's trying to solve murders. And all of his employees hate him because he's just not a good person, to be honest. You can't even tell, is he even a good person? And this isn't a spoiler, but is he even a good person? Is he trying to, whatever? Or is he really just deep down just a horrible person? You don't really know. And I'm the author and I'm telling you, I don't even know. But the point being is the situations are hilarious because he knows everything. He knows that law book A to Z. He could tell you every punctuation mark because he's got a videographic memory, as he puts it, from all his law books. But applying it to his situation, he is god-awful terrible at. He can't at all. He's awful. So I'm going to give you one example in this book because this is an example I've given several times publicly in the past, so I'll just give it again. He's at a crime scene. There is a dead body there, and him and his department or whatever, who has a lot more experience and seniority than he does, is explaining to him okay, take a look at this. Here's the victim. Okay, let's look in the victim's pockets. Pulls out a paper and it's got a drawing on it, and on the drawing it's a crayon colored picture, and it says a princess. Simple. Okay, and so he says, Powan, check it out. A princess. So he's telling him to read it. He's like, hey, look at this. I'm showing you the evidence. And now that you look at this evidence, what can you use this for to learn from this case and help you in this investigation? But so instead, this is how stupid my character is on purpose. So he hears, hey, Powan, check out what the apron says. And because this fictitious murder took place in a sandwich deli shop, he goes and checks out the aprons, which are all blank. There's no words on them. There isn't anything on the aprons. So he's, again, using his cursed ears to go in the very wrong part of where he should be focusing his energy on this investigation for a homicide. And on one of them, there is a tag on the back of the apron, and it says, Made in China. So Powan books a flight and goes to China to try and investigate this murder. That's just one example. There's plenty more. And by the way I'm describing this situation, along with every situation of all my books in this video, are not doing them even remotely justice at all. This is a very crudely done, crudely mannered way. I'm disrespecting my actual writing, because when you actually read it, it's done way infinitely better than how I'm just briefly describing it. But that's just one example. There is plenty more of examples of funny stuff like that, and done better than that too. But that's just the one example I like to go to, because it just grabs attention for some reason. I don't know, people gravitate towards that example. And then, so things happen, I won't spoil it. I will spoil this because it's comedy. It's you can spoil a comedy and not really feel bad, right? So I'll spoil this part. Eventually, Powen gets inspired by something I won't give away because that's actually the funniest part. But something happens, and then Powen, of all people, becomes a lawyer. Becomes a lawyer. He becomes obsessed with court. He's giving up investigating, and he wants to be a court person now. So he is now a lawyer. So you will deal with funny courtroom scenes in this, and just laugh, because I can't give that away either, because that's easily the climax and just so funny. Like, the way I wrote it out is hilarious. I can't give it away because this is spoiler free, but trust me, check that out. Now, accomplishments on this one are remarkable. So for one thing, this the audiobook for this has over 800 views. So first of all, on YouTube, that's awesome. Thank you, everybody in the world. I hope that number just keeps climbing. That's really cool to me. I always appreciate stuff like that. And number two that I really like is at one point in time on Barnes & Noble, this book was in the download rank 108,000. That's insane. None of my books will be higher than that, I guarantee it. 108,000, okay? There are, like I said earlier in this video, Barnes & Noble is one of the biggest websites for books, of all time. There is tens of millions of books on that site, okay? I know this because some of my other books were at, like, 19 million, 28 million on the rank or whatever. This book, at one point in time, The World's Worst Murder Detective by Adam Stark, was ranked 108,000. Wow, that's incredible. That is remarkable. I am so proud to say that happened. Just so cool. So, all right, moving on to the next book. This came out in September of 2018. I've always wanted to do this one. I didn't think that I would, but till eventually something just hit with me, and I said, yep, I got my idea ready. I got my storyboard going. I'm ready. And this is my mystery crime thriller, detective story, crime mystery thriller. I'm going to jumble my words when I say it, and it's called To Ward's Answers. Ward is the character, W-A-R-D''S. But so it's a play on words, because it's like the word towards. You're going towards answers, but it's also to space wards ''S answers. So it's a play on words. So this is just an amazing book. I really can't spoil a lot on this one, but amazing mystery book. Everybody likes a mystery. Everybody likes to solve a mystery. Everybody likes to be a detective while they're reading. This book is going to keep you guessing the whole time while you're reading it or listening to it on the audiobook. You're going to try and figure out what is going on, who did this, who did that, what actually happened. So it takes place somewhere in the Midwest, okay? And in this small town in the Midwest, there is a lake where everybody goes fishing. It's almost the 4th of July, but that whole thing gets ruined because there is a crazy, horrible serial killer that just escaped prison. He was serving his sentence. Escaped the prison. That's right. There is a prison in this town, okay? He escaped prison. And he escaped, like, for good. Like, he got out. He must have had help, but nobody figures out how. Nobody can... Everybody's... Well, some of the characters, I should say, are speculating, but nobody knows how. And he escaped, okay? So Ward, he's a retired Gold Shield detective, but he's basically unretiring himself because he's obsessed with this. He wants to figure this out. He knows everything about this serial killer. He read his case files. He knows his MO. He knows all this details about him and stuff. He wants to help. So he's talking to all the local police. He's getting in close with the sheriff and everything. Like, he's trying to figure this out. And he knows one thing. So, at least in my story, okay, I made it clear that every checkpoint on the edge of the state is covered by a blockade of checkpoints and stuff where this serial killer, every vehicle is going to be thoroughly searched if they want to get out of the state because of the serial killer being on loose. So nobody's just going to, whatever. So until the serial killer is found, they have to presume he's somewhere in the state. Okay, I make that very clear in the beginning, all right? So Ward is like, great, now we have a serial killer loose. It's almost the 4th of July. All everybody wants to do is just go fishing on the lake. But now there's this going on. So Ward is getting to work. And then this creepy thing happens, right? his next door neighbor's family goes missing. And this is unusual because the neighbor just sold his boat. They don't have anywhere to go or whatever. They were just talking the other day, and the neighbor was complaining about, I had to sell my damn boat. I don't have a lot of money and whatever. And this year is just going to be a relaxing, stay at home kind of a year for the holiday and whatever, being the 4th of July. So Ward is like, no. This timing cannot be like, this is not good. This is terrible. So what happens? He, is trying to talk to people, and they're like, well, one family missing is not like the end of the world. People go out of town. I mean, it's not like, they didn't have to tell you they were leaving or whatever, right? And so Ward does something, against the law. He gets dressed up in his, what I'm calling his safety suit or whatever, where he's got, every part of his body covered in white cushiony things or whatever. And he breaks into his neighbor's house, sees that their jewelry was broken into and stolen already, and the family's gone without a trace and stuff. So he's like, yeah, this isn't helping. This is telling me something's up, and I need to start doing detective moves and figure out. More families go missing. Ward is just upset as can be. He's like, okay, that's it. If the police force here and are not going to cooperate and like listen to me when I say something's not right here, with my 35 years of Gold Shield detective experience, then here's what I'm going to do. So Ward designs a search party. He asks volunteers. We're doing a search party. We're going around here. We're going all over these areas. We're going to search for anything. We want to see if we can find people, see what's going on. Are we going to walk over someone dead, whatever? Like, we're going to search and search and search. They do everything they can. They find nothing. They're like, gotta be kidding me. Okay, like, and nothing's going well. Okay, then, unbelievable. So Ward has a friend that I make this part a lot more detailed than the actual, everything I'm saying I make a lot more detailed than the actual story, but this part too. Ward has a friend named Justin, a very unlikely friendship. Okay, so that Justin is a much younger guy, and he's a street dude, but he made some mistakes. Ward forgave him for the mistakes and said, you know what, I could see what was going on with your situation, which I get into in the book. I'm not waste your time now. So, but Justin calls Ward frantically and then wakes Ward up in the middle of the night. He says, because he's like his eyes and ears on the street. He's his informant. And he says, I got him. I found him. He's here. He's yelling on the phone. He goes, I'm chasing him right now. Ward is going, Justin, what are you talking about? He says, I saw him. He was breaking into this house. Now I'm chasing him. I'm on foot chasing him. He tells him the street he's on and everything. Ward gets on his phone. He says, do not. He says, stop. He's yelling at him, stop now. Don't even think about it. You don't know what you're doing. Justin's dead. He died. His friend died. Okay, I am spoiling that part, but it's not too far into the story, I guess, so I don't feel that bad about talking about it. But anyway, so that happens. So then what does Ward do? Ward's going through all he's trying to figure out, okay, so Justin discovered this. Justin now is dead. So he's trying to think, if his friend, his informant, the eyes on the street is gone, he's got to do something else. So now that we know families are going missing, houses are getting broken into, and the serial killer is still on the loose and stuff, so he's putting together in his head, he's like, serial killer's out there, all these bad things are going on, he's either doing it himself or he's got help now, like it's a nightmare. So Ward goes and talks to the sheriff and all them again after his friend dies, and he says, okay, that's it. I'm pulling out my retirement fund. I said, we are going to do a sting operation, okay? We're getting in all of these neighborhoods, okay? And we're going to stake them out at nighttime, do a stakeouts. And while we do that, we're all going to be hidden in random areas and in bushes and under tarps and stuff at nighttime, because we are going to find this out. We are going to get to the bottom of this, and we're going to see if we find anybody. So Ward's working overtime. He's trying to do everything he can. He's putting down his own retirement money to help motivate the police force there to be like, okay, we can do even more than what we're already doing investigating these. Okay, so he's thinking of everything. He's pulling out all the stops, trying to investigate this. Now, I cannot really spoil or say any more about this story because those are always the best parts of my books and my stories. I promise you, though, this is a great one. This is a mystery. It'll keep you guessing. It'll keep you reading. The story itself is good. It's really great. It's got excellent dialogue. It's got excellent twists and turns that are not like ridiculously like really did the story need that? Like, it's none of that. It's all good, but it's well done, well thought out, well crafted stuff. You have to read this. You will love it. And then by the time you're done reading the whole thing, I can't say anything, but I'll just say you will love that, and you will definitely want to read it again, and everything. And it's just it's anybody can write a mystery is my point. Anybody can write a mystery, but I know how to do this well. I know what I'm talking about, and all I'm doing is asking you to trust me. Okay, that's what I'm asking you to do. To read this book and trust me, you will like it. Okay. Now, also to just throw it out there for this book, it ended up with at one website that it was on, it has on, I think it was freeebooks.net. It had over 800 downloads. It was either that or smashwords.com. Two sites I use. I love them both so much. But yeah, on one of those websites, it has over 800 downloads. Amazing. That's sweet. Thank you, everybody, so much for that. That's really cool. All right, so going on my next book. This book is a trick question. It came out September 2018, so just a few weeks after this book, but I've been writing it for a long time, so I'm kind of cheating here. It is Anatomy of Amazing Lyrics, Autobiography by Adam Stark. It's my autobiography, but the reason I'm saying it's cheating is I updated it every time I released a new rap or a new book or a new thing that I did. I added to the book, edited it, updated it online to it. So the book's, release date now is going to look like 2021, but it's actually, or late 2020, but it was technically first released in September 2018. So why? Because I update it all the time, because it's an autobiography. So if new things happen, I'm going to add that. So what this book is about, it's all of my things, everything I've ever written and released publicly, plus some things I've never released publicly until now, for writing things. So it's not just raps and stuff, but it does have every rap ever on there, thoroughly beginning to end, lyrics explained and everything. So all of my multiple literal meanings that I do with my metaphors and entendres are shown and showcased, very strategically in how I put it in the book and everything, so you can make sense of everything I say. It's got the time-stamped release dates for everything that I mentioned, so you know exactly when everything was publicly published online on the internet in the book. I show that, so everything's there. I show you, for the first time ever, my background on making each and every one of these, everything, not just the raps, but everything that's in the book, but it's mostly raps. So I show you every single thing I've ever written, when it was written, and what about it that made me write this one, and everything. So it's got all that. I explain everything I've ever done as far as writing. I explain every type of figurative language I've ever used. I explain all of my accomplishments that I've ever done with anything, not just with rap, but that is most of it, of course. But I explain all of my ventures in fast rapping and fast talking. All of my records that I have done and stuff with my fast talking and fast rapping is explained thoroughly in this. All of my own personal invented word mechanics that I have come up with and invented myself. All of my breakthroughs in breaking down barriers in the English language, explained all very clearly and concisely in this, okay? Along with all the non-rap stuff. So I included poems that I've written, for example, never been released. But every single poem I've ever written is now public because of this book. But I explain all that. It's all in there. You can read them all and see them, and And then I've also explained all my books, like everything I'm doing right now. All my books are explained in there, and thoroughly, and the release dates, again, everything's time-stamped and stuff. So my autobiography, called Anatomy of Amazing Lyrics Autobiography, it's got everything in there possible that you can think of that I've ever released publicly. Okay, and then it also includes all of the songs I've ever publicly released that are not rap. I have done songs of other genres because I also like to do that, because it's a different thing. It's more, I'm able to structure it easier because there's no pressure when you're writing a song that's not rap for me. Because when I'm writing rap, I'm trying to outdo my last one every single time. It's a competition when I'm doing hip hop. But other genres, I don't care. I'm like, okay, this is my topic. I'm ready to write it down. I'll get it done, and I'll put it out there, and I do. And then those songs, videos are all on my YouTube channels and stuff. But for the point of this, I'm saying it's in the books too. So every lyric I've done, not even just rap lyrics, is on there. Explaining my books, as I said, explaining my card game that I invented called Artifacts. Okay, that's explained in my autobiography. My show that I invented is explained in the book, called Detectives on a Mysterious Case. It's a show that I invented, like a TV show. It's not fleshed out like a TV show with actors and stuff, no. But it's a TV show that I've just made, using quick editing stuff with a really good storylines and everything. That's explained in my autobiography. And then the highlight of, and other adventures too, stuff I won't remember right now, but everything is in there. And then here's the two highlights of it too. So, like I said, every lyric I've ever done is on there, as I said before many times, but they're all on there. Plus, so if let's say you combined every rap song I've ever done, just lengthwise, not the song, but just the actual words beginning to end, not the song, not the part of the song that has instrumental before it and at the end or whatever, and no, but just the words. If you combine all of that for every single rap song I've ever done, my whole lifespan, it might be like this much. Now, if you include all the freestyling I've ever done publicly on camera, it's like this much. It's like maybe even double or more, because there's just a lot more of it, because I'm just long-winded like that. So in this book, what I decided to do, this took a long time, believe me. I went through every single freestyle I did, every single freestyle video, every single freestyle live stream I've ever did, and all that stuff. I took them and I went through and I compiled all of my favorite moments of the freestyling, which I condensed down to 3 hours. 3 hours is a long time, I agree. But if I have over 7 hours of footage, then it doesn't look like that much, because I'm not going to put 7 hours worth of freestyle lyrics on a thing. No, that's ridiculous. Why would anybody do that? I just took my absolute favorite parts of all of my freestyling, which is just a little over 3 hours worth, and I even included those freestyle lyrics in my autobiography. So you can even see that too. You can even see certain, again, when I say 3 hours, I mean, if every rap, you got every freestyle on there, some of them, they're going to be fully written out, sure. But then a lot of them, you might just have like a short paragraph's worth. You might have 3 sentences worth that I thought, this was so cool, I have to put it in here. You might have 2 minutes worth. You might have 1.5 minutes worth. You get my point. It's sporadic, because I'm only picking out my favorites. Like this was a really cool moment in this freestyle. I had to put it in my list, added to this book. You get my point. All of that's on here too. So there's so much to this book, right? It's not just, this is Adam Stark, this is what he's about, this is his life and everything. It's more to it than that, a lot more. Everything is broken down in there. Everything you can think of, how I write, how I do this, how I come up with things, my strategies for coming up with crazy entendres and metaphors and stuff. My legendary breakthroughs, like a septuple entendre, septuple literal multiple meaning, stuff that I've done, is all on there, broken down concisely, and I can scientifically prove everything I say. And I do it. Like, I actually do that in this book. And which is derived from things I've done publicly online before that book. And then the best part is the last segment of the book. The very last part is so awesome. I'm so glad I just randomly thought to do this. I decided to put in order, okay, all of my multiple literal meanings, okay? So I have them sort of double literal meanings, triple literal meanings, quadruple literal meanings, quintuple literal meanings, and then, of course, my septuple literal meaning is the last one. So I have it in order by that, and then subcategorized in order of date and timestamp. Because, just because it's a multiple literal meaning, that doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean that's going to be your favorite line ever of all time. No, of course not. But that is a type of skill that most people do not have. They don't have it. They can claim they have it, but you have to prove it, is my point. You can say things that mean two things. Anybody can do that. But you have to be able to prove that it's literally two or more meanings. And that is what I am specializing at. That's what I've done for my whole career. And I prove it in this, okay? But so I show all those right there. So again, if you're looking for the hardest type of punchlines to write, which are the multiple literal meanings, when you say one thing one way and it's got 3 literal meanings on it or more, like I said, up to septuple with me, proven scientifically, I got them all right there at the end in that last segment. Just boom, it's like an encyclopedia right there. Really cool. So that's that, okay? Really neat. Love it. Now, and then this is the last book I ever did. As far as actually took the time to make and write and release or whatever. And it's the only sequel I've ever done. And this inspiration just came to me out of nowhere. One day I was thinking about some things, and I was like, you know what? This story's too good, and it's got to be done more. So my last book that I ever wrote and released, without updating anything, but just actually wrote it and released it, and it's good and done. The World's Worst Murder Detective 2, Laws Stand Found by Adam Stark. That came out August 2019. Yep. So first of all, the title is a play on words, because you think I'm saying lost and found, which is like an area where you go to find items that are missing. But it's actually laws, Laws, space, stand, space, found. So it's a play on words, right? And it's a sequel. And so I decided, you know what? This character is too good. Pow and Yudi Popper with the perfect hybrid character I invented that's perfectly genius. Like everybody uses the word genius nowadays. It doesn't even mean anything. But I'm saying if you actually break down what the word genius means and not just like, somebody says something funny and you're like, you're a genius. But I'm talking about the actual definition of like a genius, like somebody just an adept level intelligence, okay, genius. And Powen is equally as stupid, and he's got the cursed ears that doesn't hear things, okay? So in this book, what I decided to do, keep the character. I'm making it, obviously, a direct sequel to the previous book, World's Worst Murder Detective, but loose enough that you don't even have to read the first book to understand this book at all. You don't. I did mention a prologue in there explaining what happened in the first book anyway, just in case people wanted to. And I'm glad I did that, but I'm just saying, not needed at all. You can just read this book and completely ignore the first book if you want to. And so this book, man, I'm really glad I went with my instincts on it. I kept thinking of funny ideas of stuff in court, for courtroom stuff, because I love that stuff. I love courtroom comedy. I love courtroom humor, lawyer humor, courtroom banter, and stuff. And, I love stuff like that. So I wanted to add more to it. And then I thought, I have Powen. I can use him some more. And I did. So in this much longer book than my first book, man, simply breathtaking. This is an amazing book. Everybody should love this book. This book is incredible. I'm really proud of this one. And it's not even my favorite. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's not my favorite book of mine. But I did a really good job with it. I feel like this is the most, what I'll say, user-friendly book. Like, anybody could read this and get a bunch of good laughs and understand that I'm a great writer. That's what I would use this book for. This would be like my resume book. Like, oh, you want another writer? Boom, here you go. This is something I've done, and it's really good. That's like what I call it. But this needs to be celebrated. This book is remarkable, amazing. I did a great job on it. And it starts out, this whole book is Powen's a lawyer. He is now a full-time lawyer. and he's still an idiot. He still has his cursed ears that hears something, does the wrong thing, and still goes on. So that humor is still there, but this time he's a lawyer, so it's not being used to try and solve a murder. Instead, now he's using it to try and fight for his clients in court. It's like what? But the way that I write these out, I'm so specific, and I am not saying at all, not claiming this at all, that I'm an expert in court at all. I'm not going to pretend like I am. I'm not going to give off the impression that I have that knowledge or anything. I don't. I'm not saying that at all. But I've read enough stuff about court to know certain things. So I'm vague where I need to be, where I bring up courtroom stuff such as like summary judgment and stuff, exculpatory and culpatory, and what the differences are there and stuff like that. So I'm vague when I need to be in this. But the other stuff that I do it well. People object when they need to object. The judge rules on the objections properly in this book and stuff like that. All of the examinations, cross-examinations, and testimonies and stuff, all of that in this book is done well, done right, and that's what I'm proud of. Is I made a very extremely unique, original, creative courtroom comedy that doesn't remind you of other courtroom comedies. There's been plenty of them. Believe me, I've seen them. I have. I love courtroom stuff. That stuff is fascinating to me, whether it's very serious or it's dramatic or it's funny. I've seen them. Believe you me, I have seen them and I have read them. So I didn't want this to remind me or my readers of anything else. So I worked really hard on that. On making this my own thing, doing my own thing, not reminding you of that other story. So with all that hard work I did, you got Powen being an idiot, as always, but he's being requested because everyone else that these clients, and this isn't a spoiler, everyone else that these clients reach out to, they won't take it to court. They will beg them to plead it out. And Powen is the only one, because he's Powen, and Mr. Yudi Popper, the lawyer now, the big boy on campus, he's saying, yeah, I'll take it to court, of course, why not? So that's what he's doing. Every single case that comes up here, he takes them to court, for better or for worse. And when you see, one thing you'll see about this is he has good intentions every time he meets his clients, every time he wants to win their case. Like, he does have good intentions. But like I said, because of his cursed ears, he's such a fool. I can't really give anything else away. You kind of just have to read this or listen to it on audiobook. But he really nails it on like he's happy to be there, but he's still a fool. He uses the big giant words, like I said before. This might be, of every character that's ever existed in media, as far back as since media started, this might be the single character. I believe I can at least put my hand on a stack of Bibles and at least say this has got to be up there, at least, if not number one, character that uses the most big words in like a general time frame or whatever, because he uses them, and he uses them correctly. He doesn't repeat the same big words. Nope. I really worked hard on the dialogue to come up with good stuff. And anyways, so he's still using them all, so he still comes off as a genius, when you listen to him. But then, like I said, he applies logic in terrible ways, and then he gets his cursed ears where he hears something, acts on that information instead of just being like, okay, can you clarify what you said? Nope, cursed. The one science fictional part of the story of Pow and Yudi Popper. He listens to him and acts on the information he thinks he heard, which is way off, and sometimes remarkably way off. I can't give anything else away about that. But so he's trying to help all these clients, and I don't think I'm going to spoil this part. Why not? It's a comedy, so it's like I don't feel too bad about spoiling it. But there's one part where he actually ends up getting lucky enough in a case that he has to go to Supreme Court. In case you didn't know that, in the United States of America, the Supreme Court is the highest level court system. They can overturn virtually any other case that's been ruled on. They have like the highest authority, basically, when it comes to court stuff. So if somebody was ruled, etc., at this level of court, and it went up and went from here to from appellate court to district court, whatever it ended up being, once it gets to whatever that was ruled on, okay, Supreme Court can overrule anything like that. They have that kind of power. So, they're the final say, not whatever judge you ran into before or jury you ran into before, etc., etc., etc. So Powen's got to do that eventually, and I'm not giving anything away about that, but it ties into the first book in that part. And again, you don't have to read the first book to know that part. Like, it's not going to ruin it for you or anything. No, I wrote this in a way that shows it's separate from the first book, but technically speaking, it's a sequel to it in the sense of, oh, Powen used to do this and used to be that, and this is how Powen talks to people and stuff like that, like you would recognize, and reamed to your consciousness of how he is, how his behavior lies. And so here's the thing, okay? So the best part about this by far, because I'm so glad I thought of this. This was like my instincts kicked into overdrive when I wrote this book. The weirdest, possibly like strangest thing that you wouldn't have thought of, considering everything else I've written about in Pow and Udi Popper's story between these two books. And then I added this curveball at you. Powen gets a girlfriend. He gets in a relationship. Can you see him in a relationship? Oh, man. I wrote that at the tagline of the brief description on this book. So if you go online and you read what this book's about, I mentioned that for a reason. Because with how he is, how is he going to get in a relationship? Like, how is he going to deal with a relationship? How is that going to work? With how he is, how is he going to last? How is he going to work in a relationship? That's the biggest mystery of all time, probably. So that's what this book also has in there, is a very unexpected, even though I spoil it by saying it in the description of the book, but whatever, I don't care. You can spoil comedies, in my opinion. It has that in it too, okay? So it's just great. I can't spoil another thing that happens that's completely in a different direction. I don't want to spoil that, but that happens too. It's great. It's funny throughout. But here's the thing. So here's the takeaway, all right? Relationship with the girl, got a girlfriend now, and it's like the last person you would think would get in a relationship, obviously. Okay? And then here's the real takeaway, though, to me. Okay? When you actually read everything that he does in court, says in court, presents in court, everything like that, you're actually going to be impressed when you read it, because you're going to see, even though he's an idiot, he applies logic terribly, you're going to see that he's still trying to do the right thing in this. You're going to see that without even me telling you that just now. And when you do, wait till you see how he presents his cases, because sometimes it's funny, and then sometimes you feel like he's human. Like you get a piece of him when you're reading it, and you're going to read it. And I go as far to say this, okay, without spoiling anything. One of these court cases, I'll say, will go as far as you might even shed a tear. I'm serious. As goofy as this is, in my goofy story, you might even shed a tear when I bring something to light that you're going to read Powen doing when he's presenting something in courtroom. You might even stop and be like, I'm reading a comedy book right now. Like, whoa, it's not something sad. No, it's not something depressing. It's not something off-putting. No. I don't want you to overthink what I'm trying to say right in this moment, right now, talking to you. But something spectacular that was really well-crafted, well-written, well thought out, well-planned out and everything. And you're going to be blown away by it. I think it's going to change you when you read that part. And it's remarkable, because I learned about something, won't give it away, and when I did, it kind of blew my mind, because I didn't want to believe it at first, but now that I know it to be a fact and believe it, I put it in this book, but not in like a in-your-face kind of a way, no, but just in a way that applied to this story in a random way, almost like Powen would have done it if he, whatever. But anyway, just a great book. So the takeaway again, him getting a girlfriend, that guy getting a girlfriend, what? What? And, of course, they're really well thought out, well choreographed, with dialogue, cross-examinations, testimonial and stuff, explanation of Exhibit A and stuff, evidence, all this stuff in courtroom, and Powen is leading for his clients and stuff. That stuff is really well done in this, and it will not remind you of another story. Like I said, just like in my action book, it's not gonna remind you of, oh, that reminds me of this one when this guy got shot in the head by the gun. Oh, it's gonna remind me of this story where there was a sword fight and the guy beat him to death with a shield. This, similar to those two examples, this isn't going to remind you of, oh, that reminds me of that courtroom story when he did this for that company, and it was really dramatic, and he did that, and then they said this, and then the jury ended up doing that, and it's not going to remind you of that. I've seen a lot of them, so I know what I'm talking about. I worked very hard to make this my own thing and to not remind you of something else. Okay, this is all me. I am a very creative person. I put that to work here. I methodically took the time to make this work. And now, so this book is special for another reason. Okay? Cannot believe this. This is so awesome. Okay? Amazing. So, this book also, World's Worst Murder Detective 2, Lost and Found by Adam Stark, again, released in August 2019. I could not believe this when I saw it. And by the way, everything I've said in this whole video, I have pictures of them online and on my YouTube channel, everything, so you can see everything I'm talking about, But this book was actually ranked number 1 on freeebooks.net for several weeks. That's amazing. You have no idea how great that felt to have a number 1 ranked book. That is an incredible feeling. I was so happy about that. I still am today. And that was months ago from now. No idea how amazing that felt. So, now on freeebooks.net, it's a giant site, okay? A giant book website. It has thousands, tens of thousands. Oh, it's got over million, over 2 million. I mean, I'm not saying all the exact number, but it's got, thousands and thousands upon thousands of books on there, okay? And as I'm looking at my book, because all of my books are on there too, because all my books are free, like I said, in every format, so I'm putting them out in many sites as I can. And here I go look up top-rated comedy books. And in the comedy category, which again, there are hundreds of thousands of books on that website, freeebooks.net, in the comedy category, and my book on comedy category, World's Worst Murder Detective 2, Lost Stand Found, was ranked number 1 for several weeks. That is an insane accomplishment. That's remarkable. I will never forget that day when it happened. I'll never forget it. Just remarkable. I'm so proud of that. It's so cool. All the random cool things that have happened since I started this journey of being an author in 2016. Well, 2015 is when I started writing, but 2016 when I officially released books and whatever. So all that stuff, all happened. That stuff is all online, all on social media, and all on publicly on YouTube and, Twitter and all that stuff. But you can all see what I'm talking about. And so to have all of that happen, it's just amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is just me briefly giving you previews of all of my 6 books. As of now, in 2021, maybe there will be more books later. I don't know. I really don't know. Something would have to happen for me to be inspired to think of a new thing or whatever, because I don't force myself to write. That's just not what I do. That being said, though, I didn't spoil anything in any of these books. Anything worth spoiling, I should say. So, like, if you heard what I had to say and you thought, I'm on the fence about it, I don't know, read it anyway. It's free, for one, so it's free. You're not losing money. And they're in audiobook if you'd rather listen than actually read. Okay, because there's both types of people, I understand that. And the stuff that I didn't spoil in all the books I mentioned is literally, I promise you, is the best parts of those books, of those stories. I promise you that. I promise you that. Giving you everything, right? So check them out, right? Give me reviews, whether it's publicly or you're just personally messaging me to give me reviews. Let me know. Just talk to me and, let me know what you thought, because like I said, these books, these stories, they won't remind you of other ones in their respective categories. They won't at all. Okay, they will not. It's 100%, Adam Stark's methodical crafting of writing that I put with penship into all these works and stuff. So that being said, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, if you need to know where to find any of these books, they're all already on that. All my links are on my YouTube and stuff like that. But in case you needed to, if you feel like just asking me, go ahead. Whatever works for you. But they're all up there. They're all 100% free, again, and available in every single format, including audiobook. And by the way, there's other authors named Adam Stark, so don't get confused with them. Just look at the ones with me. I Photoshop my own face into every single one of my book covers, so that's where I'm at. So thank you all for listening, and I looking forward to all of you guys reading any of my 6 books, and I want to hear your feedback.